Bulk weighing is a process where we process a mass quantity of material through a scale, keeping accurate track of how much we put through the scale in what we refer to as drafts. One draft after another draft after another draft is accumulated to come up with an accurate receiving weight or shipping weight, depending on whether we're talking about the shipping mode or the receiving mode of bulk weighing. The two modes are very similar in process, but fairly discrete in how they do their accumulation. The 920i Flexweigh Systems 107 would be the shipping mode, Flexweigh Systems 108 would be the receiving mode, and Flexweigh Systems 109 is available to those who ship and receive out of the same scale. Once again, with Flexweigh Systems, you can see that they can be ordered in their basic version, in this case a 107, or in a version that has some options added on to suit your personal preferences. Here we have a 109 version, which is identified by the shipping receive switch here, and a number of panel lights on the front panel that give you, on the production floor, indications of what might be stalling the process. For example, if you try to open the scale discharge gate and the scale fill gate has not closed, that would give you a gate alarm. Or if you're dropping into a lower surge, if the surge capacity backs up to the point where you can't drop another draft into the lower surge, you'd get a surge backup alarm. It'll let you know that we're not going to discharge until that error state is cleared. Again, as you've seen in other 920i Flexweigh systems, we have the capability for manual override controls. In the case of a bulk weigher, they would be used for, a product blow through or a clean out or something like that, so that you can open the fill gate and open the discharge gate simultaneously to blow product through. You'll notice that selecting from the auto to the manual mode is via key lock. We don't allow you to switch from manual to automatic or vice versa without the key. If you were in the automatic mode and you tried to switch to manual, we would immediately do what we call manual override abort. We would end the last cycle as though it were the last draft and complete it, and that would be the end of that draft sequence. In other words, we don't allow you to intermingle manual and automatic modes. So very briefly, that's the control panel. Emergency stop is self-explanatory. Start, resume means that we will start the bulk weighing process, or if we're stopped, resume the bulk weighing process. End cycle is used in the receiving mode, where the concept is you continue to receive product, receive product, receive product until there is no more product to receive, which consequently is always going to be, it seems, on half a draft. When you press end cycle, it will accumulate that half draft and discharge it as though it were the last draft. If you press end cycle during the shipping mode meaning you'll enter a target weight and you'll continue drafting, drafting, drafting until you achieve the ultimate target weight. But if you wanted to end the cycle before you get to that point, you can by pressing end cycle. It operates the same. When you press it, it treats the sequence that it's in as though it were the last sequence and totals the report on the printer. Now when we're powered up and we're looking at the HMI screen, you'll notice that the dominant feature is the weight display. Here we have the accumulation of the last completed drafting process. In other words, in the previous draft that was, or the previous bulk weighing process that was completed, we had 3 drafts for a total of 349 pounds. At the completion of a bulk weighing process, once we printed our totals report, we leave that on the screen until the next time you press start for a new process. Here in the informational screen, we have 2 lines of ID. We'll see how we can enter those ID when we get into the setup menu. In this case, we're doing a pretend fish receiving application. King salmon is the product, and the boat is Raggedy Ann. That would be the name of the fishing boat. Over here we have our indication that the discharge gate is closed and the fill gate is closed. Those are the two gates on the scale. We're required to indicate this as part of the legal for trade function. When they open and close, the indication will change from open to closed. Again, we have it jumpered, so we won't see it switch. Down here is your important information for your targets. Your draft weight is 100 pounds. Your empty weight is 5 pounds. Pre-act, we can enter pre-act in 3 different modes. We can not have any pre-act at all. We can have a fixed weight pre-act, or we can have a learned pre-act. The learned pre-act works a little bit differently than what some might be familiar with. In this case, the learned pre-act is for instances where we are we're either stopped or we're ready to start a new drafting process, and the upper garner is full. So when we open the big fill gate, we get a really fast inrush of product. We haven't hit the pace of the continuous infeed to the upper garner yet, so we may get a huge surge of product. In that case, if we self-learn, our pre-act automatically goes to 50% of the first draft weight, and then it corrects 50% thereafter until it gets within a fairly tight range of what our target weight is, and then it starts making very small adjustments for pre-act. But because the pre-act function in a bulkweigher is a little bit different than, say, batching and filling, the operation of it is a little bit different. Okay? And this indicates that we're in the automatic mode, as indicated by the switch here, and we are in the receiving sequence of operation. To place the system in service, once again, fast money, go to the setup menu. Time and date, like all 920i Flexweigh systems, looks like an alarm clock. Move it around, do whatever you want, press enter when you get it where you want it. Set up password. You can enter a password if you wish. The password that you entered will inhibit anyone from accessing the setup menu from hereafter unless they know the password. So I'm just going to leave that empty. Re-enter the password to verify. We'll leave it empty. Password is nothing. ID 1 and ID 2. This is where we enter those two IDs, where we had whether we want to enable an ID, yes or no. If I say yes, I've already entered salmon, king salmon. I'm just going to leave it there. But the way that you would enter it is on the keypad using alphanumeric characters up here or the numeric characters down here. ID number 2 operates the same way. Press more for more choices. Delay after fill, we have a 3-second delay after fill. What delay after fill does is once the scale is filled, we want to give the gate a chance to close. Remember, we're not going to open that discharge gate unless that fill gate is closed. And if we attempt to open the discharge gate without seeing the fill gate closed, we're going to go into a fault state. So you may want to put a second or two or however long it takes for that fill gate to get closed as a time delay before we start looking for it to be closed. Delay after discharge, same thing. We don't want to open the fill gate unless the discharge gate is closed. We want to give the discharge gate, in this case 3 seconds, an arbitrary number that I've entered, 3 seconds to get closed before we start looking for it. Discharge delay. This is kind of like an override of when you come back down to the 0 preset, which you'll find out pretty soon that we have set at 5 pounds. Once you hit 5 pounds, that's technically the end of discharge. But this discharge delay will stall from that time before it actually closes the gate. Because maybe in this case, especially in like fish receiving, you want to truly drain the scale to empty. You don't want to close the discharge gate on a salmon. And that will allow it, once it falls within 0, to actually give it a little bit of time for whatever's finally falling out of there to get out of there. I have it set for 0 in this case. More? Slow cycle timer. This is the time delay that you set. If we don't complete a fill or we don't complete a discharge within the time period entered, we will fault. It may be that for whatever reason on the upper feed end of it, we're starved or we're blocked or something like that, and we're not processing, this will turn on an alarm for slow cycle, maybe sound a klaxon or something else in the plant to say, hey, we're not feeding, or perhaps we're not discharging for whatever reason. Draft subtotals. This has to do with how often we print the subtotal. In this case here, every 3 drafts, we're going to print a subtotal on the report. You can set it for whatever frequency that you want. Once again, test the digital IOs. We can, via the keypad, push and simulate all the inputs and outputs without actually running product in order to find out that when we reach a certain target weight, the gate doesn't open. We have the unit electrically terminated. We have the unit calibrated. We have the unit set up for production. The only thing really left to do is put in our presets. Click the presets soft key. You pick your draft weight. In this case here, I've got a draft weight of 100. In other words, I'm going to fill to 100 pounds and turn off. The empty weight. I'm going to discharge down to 5 pounds and turn off. Preact weight. I have the preact. I'm not using preact in this demonstration, so my preact is off. Okay? Target weight in this case is not applicable because I'm in the receiving mode. So I just continue receiving product until there is no more product. If I were in the shipping mode, if it said shipping up here, then I would be able to enter a target weight that I would ultimately target to. That's it. That's all there is. Out of the box, on the wall, in production, in minutes. The only thing left to do at this point is let's go ahead and run some drafts. Make sure that your emergency on-off switch is in the run position. You definitely want to be in the auto position on your manual off auto selector. We know that we're in the receive mode in this particular case. We're on 0, ready to go, and we press start. Our audit trail printer prints our header. Our header includes our ID numbers, time and date that we started the process. Filling to draft weight. Inside, we have our output to our fill gate open right now. So I'll just run the weight up to 100 pounds, which is our target. And I'll just slam some weight in here because in bulkweighers, we're not so concerned about hitting a perfect weight like we would be with batching and filling. What we're concerned with is knowing what weight we did hit and recording it. In this case, we recorded 113 pounds. When we slam down, it says discharging to empty. The output for the open at the bottom of the discharge gate is now active. We slam it down to 0. When we hit 0, we hit our discharge delay. We print the weight at 0 and calculate the net difference between what we had at full and what we had at 0, and that's what we accumulated, 113 pounds. You'll remember it was 113 pounds. We're now refilling to 100 or so, 108 pounds. We're discharging down to 0. Gate closes. We print. We're filling again. Our accumulator is moving up. We're starting our third draft. To 100 and something pounds just because I'm not trying to hit anything perfect. There's my third draft. My subtotal just printed. I come back down. Print 0. Recalculate the net. I'm on my fourth draft. I run it up a ways and I just ran out of material. I've received the entire Raggedy Ann boatload of fish. I press end cycle. It says that I've ended the cycle. I'm now discharging to empty. It's using 53 pounds as what I've received. I'm back down to 0. It will accumulate that last draft, and that will be the end of the process. So there you have it. Out of the box, on the wall, in production, in minutes.